Hold up, I forgot the book. Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be talking about 5 Dark Fates. And I thought that having dead Jeffrey front and center with my tiara would be very appropriate for this book. Before I get into this one in particular, I would very quickly like to say my thoughts on some of the previous ones. I ended up rating 3 Dark Crowns 4 out of 5 stars. I rated 1 Dark Throne 5 out of 5 stars, and I rated 2 Dark Reign 4.5 out of 5 stars. 5 Dark Fates is the only book in the series that I did not buy. As you can see from its very reflective cover, I got it from my library, and I'm actually really happy that I did. I'll get more into that later as I talk. If you haven't read any of these previous books in the series, you probably want to turn away now, as I will be talking about some stuff that happens in this book which will most definitely spoil the other 3. 5 Dark Fates starts off with Catherine being controlled by dead evil queens, Marabella about to join her for some reason that to this day I'm still not totally sure why, and Snow, she's hanging out with the Legion Queen, Jules, who we've met previously, and for some reason they're about to fight Catherine. Honestly, this book left me with more questions than answers, and I feel like that's what made me rate it in such a way that I did. Throughout the entire book, all 4 queens at this point are trying to get one throne. Snow is fighting to help Jules claim the crown, whereas Marabella is trying to help Catherine figure out her issue. Although Catherine doesn't know that Marabella is trying to help her. Through most of it, she believes that Marabella is a traitor or doesn't understand why she's there. Those 2 sisters grow closer together and eventually become friends, but in the end, Catherine ends up killing Marabella in about 2 sentences, and then we're left the rest of the book kind of confused about what just happened. Snow, on the other hand, is still with Jules, and when she receives Marabella's dead body, goes to war with Jules against Catherine. The rebels fight against the crown, and the Mist comes in and helps fight everyone. In the struggle, lots of things happen, lots of people die. Jules releases her War Legion gift and helps destroy many of the dead queens. Catherine is killed when Snow is trying to help her resolve her issues, and supposedly Marabella is in the Mists. Eventually they end positively with the Mists receding, Jules being the crown leader. Billy goes back home, and Snow is going to be visiting him but living in the mainland. There was a lot of pages for not that much happening. I honestly feel like I wasn't interested in this book at all until around page 300, and then I was pretty interested. Although I feel like she did still struggle with writing the actual battle scenes. They could have been done a little bit better. There was a lot of cutting back and forth between different characters who I felt like didn't need to have parts in this battle. I like when battles cut back and forth. It makes the action flow a lot faster. It was just there was a lot of different people who were talking who really didn't need to be saying anything. Honestly, this whole entire book was a lot of people saying things that didn't need to be saying anything. I felt like by the end of this book, I wanted to have a better understanding of low magic, whereas the author did not provide that to me. I still am not totally sure how it works, or why it works, or why everyone thinks of it so poorly when clearly it is working. I also felt like the character Amelia was just kind of thrown into the mix to help them fight this battle. I didn't like her character, and maybe that's part of my problem, but I'm kind of glad that in the end Jules chose not to be with her, because it felt pushed and it didn't feel real, and it kind of just felt like she was throwing in some LGBT representation for no real reason, which is okay, except their romance wasn't believable. I think my biggest issue with this final book in the series is we started off in the beginning with these 3 sisters fighting for the crown, and it had magic, but it was more about their relationship and who was gonna win and the twists and turns of that thing. And it continued on with that into the second book. We were learning more about the island, we were learning more about their magic system, and was about them and who they were going to be. The third book lost me a little bit more when it started really diving into this whole entire past dead queen stuff. I know book 2 had a lot of that, but it really started to focus in book 3. Whereas book 4, it was no longer about these 3 sisters fighting for one of them to get the crown. It was about this island who was being controlled by magic, some of it good, some of it bad, and this whole entire big blown out rebellion, government, politics, and I just was no longer interested in something that I had once found very, very interesting. I ended up rating this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. I definitely think that the first 300 pages would have been lower if it weren't for the last 150 or so pages being as good as they were. The last 150 pages definitely made me want to raise the rating up to a 4-star, but again, as I just said, the first 300 pages made me want to rate the book 3 stars or less. I settled on an average of 3.5 stars, which I could see myself in the future possibly changing. I definitely see this as a series that I would try to come back to in the future and see if anything has changed in my mind. I feel like if I were to reread book 1 right now, my rating would definitely change for it. But that is something for future me to worry about. Overall, I would say that this book was kind of a letdown compared to the rest in the series. I thought this was going to be a fun YA book about 3 sisters killing each other and one of them taking the throne, or 3 sisters killing each other and then learning actually that they need the 3 of each other to rule together. And instead we got 3 sisters who use magic really weirdly and none of them actually take the throne in the end. Yeah, that's right. The book ends with none of the sisters on the throne, which doesn't bother me so much as in the end they kept saying the island would never be the same, the island will never have a queen again, but the island still has a queen. There's really not that big of a difference between Snow being on the throne and Jules being on the throne. I think the author had a lot of really good ideas and she just didn't execute all of them in the way that it made sense to me as a reader. I'm glad I didn't buy this book because I don't know if I will ever reread the 4th one in the series or not. I'm done with the book now. That's all I have to say about 5 Dark Fates. Also, Dead Jeffrey approved book. He really liked it. I hope you enjoyed my quick review of 5 Dark Fates. I hope you check back in the future to see my review of some other books that I'm reading, and I hope that you're having a great day. Please let me know if you've read any of these books in the series and what your thoughts are on them. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. Or maybe if you're not reading this, tell me why you haven't picked it up yet. Is it just not your cup of tea? Until next time, bye. I think my biggest issue with this final book, I don't like when authors name their series off of the first book, even though I often refer to series by the first book's name.